Hi there, welcome to Keystone Trailer Sales. Today we're walking you through your 2025 Coleman 17B. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you are pre-wired for an observation camera, as well as a lip collapsible stair system. If you'd like to get set up with either of those, you can contact our parts department and they can put together a quote for you. Also located at the back is your spare tire. Then around the driver's side of the unit, this does go for both sides of the unit. You got bumper caps. Pulling these guys off, it's typically where you're going to want to store your sewer hose after your first use. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, and that's the only reason it's not in here yet. You do want to store that in here after your first use, as it's just going to try and keep as much smell out of the unit as possible. And in the two back corners here, you do have stabilizer jacks. The way they work are, you're going to hook up your 3/4 inch drive tool to the 3/4 inch drive nut. Run this foot down to the ground. Once the foot contacts the ground, just giving it another 1/8 turn to snug it up. It's going to take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now away. That being said, these are stabilizing jacks. They're not leveling jacks, so always keep that in mind. Same goes for if you're using a drill or an impact to run these up or down. Being careful how much torque you put on them, because they are easy to bend. Inside here, you got your hot water service port. Main two things you got to worry about. A little power switch turns on power up to the thermostat inside. Then you do got your pressure relief valve. The reason I mentioned that is this isn't going to be like your standard water heater if you've had a camper before. For winterization, you probably remember that there's going to be bypass valves that you're supposed to turn. For this, there is no bypass valves. If there are, you don't turn them. You do run antifreeze through the system, of course, with it being off. Once you're done winterizing completely, cracking this pressure relief valve and leaving it cracked open. That way it can drain the antifreeze out of the coils as it starts to expand during those cold winter months. From there, you do got your fresh water fill. Put a garden hose in there, turn it on. That's what fills your fresh tank. So if you're out boondocking or don't have a site with service, that's how you fill your fresh water. The drain for the fresh water tank is right down here below. You're gonna see it's still draining. I just finished summarizing it. So you can close that off. And then you got your city water connection. So if you're at a site with service, thread a garden hose in there, turn it on, pressurizes all those lines without the needing to run your water pump. Then you do got your sewer cap. Twisting that off. You just take a note of these ears there. It's going to be the same ears your sewer hose has. They line up with those notches like so and twist and lock into place. Then you do have your black valve and your gray valve. You always want to empty your black valve first. It's going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with your gray valve, which is typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. You got your 30 amp supply cord. Pretty standard. Most campsites should have this and you can plug right on in. But let's say you have the unit at home on the driveway. You want to run your fridge or your campsite only has 15 amp service. We do include that 15 amp park adapter. Just keep it in mind whenever you're going down to 15 amps power. It's just to run your fridge and your lights. You're not going to want to run your air conditioner off that, otherwise you do run the risk of tripping your breaker. A little further up front here, you do have your front storage compartment, goes right through to the other side. Inside this box is just your standard starter kit. Comes with that 10-foot sewer hose, which I've told you about, a 15-foot water hose, that 15 amp park adapter, and then some other miscellaneous goodies. We'll leave that stored up front here just for you to go through once you pick up a unit. Now around the front of the unit, you got your battery box right up front here. Standard 20-pound propane tank. Turning that counterclockwise to open up the flow of propane to the unit all the way. Of course, if you wanted to change out the tank because it went empty, just having to loosen that wing nut and this should come right off. And on this side, you do just have the other side of the compartment. Of course, with that weight distribution, which this customer did opt for. You got your two 110 plugs. You got your furnace exhaust whenever that's running. It is going to be blowing out hot air, so be mindful of that. Then you do got your two low point drains. Opening up those guys tries to empty as much fluid out of the lines as possible. So if you don't want water going stale or stagnant, it's a good method to crack those open. Or of course, once you're done winterization, it's a good idea to crack those. Get inside, pulling those steps out, straight out towards you. They lock out into place. That'll allow you to open up your door. And then I mentioned with the door, if you open up the door all the way, you're going to notice it does come into contact with that awning arm. So before you ever run your awning, always double checking your door is 90 degrees closed. That way that arm can move freely and you're not causing any damage. Taking a step on inside, first thing you notice off on the left is just that fire extinguisher, just like home, pull the pin and shoot. All the living space lights are on their own center push buttons, so you just have to walk and turn them on throughout. Lots of different accent lighting on the own center push buttons as well. Up at the the top here, you got your monitor panel system, so you got your different tanks with the corresponding levels once you press the button. You got your water pump switch, which turns on that water pump, draws out of your fresh tank. Exterior light switch turns on the LED light outside underneath the awning. Then, of course, once you make sure that your door is closed 90 degrees, you hit that extend button. The awning's going to start making its way out. And once fully extended, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down. Unfortunately, today, I don't think we're going to be able to get to that point, but we'll be able to get it out enough so I can just show you the last couple features of it. Yeah, so that is all we're going to be able to go today, so I'll just retract it a little bit. Now, if we were to start raining, take any arm, front or rear, push it down and in on it. And then you can tighten up this little notch latch here. That changes the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now, of course, if you like that angle better, you do the same thing with the front arm. It's going to allow for more shade underneath. But before you ever go to bring your awning in, always loosening off this tab and leaving it loose so it can go out to its full extension. And you don't run the risk of bending anything whenever you go to bring it in. You're always going to want to keep an eye on wind speeds whenever you do have this out. Once it starts getting to about 5km/h winds, you want to make sure you bring that awning in. Bringing it in is as simple as holding the retract button. The awning's going to start making its way in once the arms contact the side of the trailer. The motors do automatically cut out. Now we got our bedroom space. Lifting up this bed, we do got a little storage compartment under here for whatever you'd like to put in there. Storage throughout the unit. Of course, whenever you're using a storage spot, always keeping an eye on drains and water lines or any sort of wiring. You don't want to be affecting any of that. You got a backer for TV mount here. Right up top, you got your coax outlet as well as 2 regular outlets. And then you do have this little black button. Turning that on turns the green light on. Now that also improves radio frequency and cell phone frequency. But whenever you're not using it, turning it off because it does also draw battery power. Up on the wall, you got your standard window AC unit style deal. Power switch, you got your different modes, your different band settings, energy saving mode, you know, just a few different things. Storage all around. Blinds in the unit all work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. Fire exit. Pulling this red tab, the whole screen's going to pop out of place. At that point, you can lift this little red handle, pop it out, and hop on out of the unit. Now, if you were to have any sort of guests, additional of your 2 bunk beds, of course, this does also turn out into a bed. You're just having to fold in these legs, and then you can set the tabletop inside its set spots here. Take your back cushions, fill in the center. You could have yourself another bed. Kitchen area, sink, hot and cold water, pretty standard. To get the propane stove, because you're equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right here behind you under the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, you're just getting worrisome levels inside, so you're going to want to open up some vents and windows and turn off the main supply propane. Just to ventilate things out again, you get into a worrisome level. It's also very sensitive to cleaning chemicals, so if you're cleaning around it, use your best judgment, but it's probably just that. To get this light, pretty simple. Whenever you've had your propane system off though, just keep in mind that it allows air into the system, so sometimes it can take a few minutes to purge all the air out of the lines. So whenever you get your campsite, if you've had the propane system off and you're turning it on, I always recommend lighting your stove first thing, turning it over to the high/light option. Sometimes it can take a few seconds with a lighter to get that to light up. I always recommend leaving the lighter on whenever you have the gas on. That way you have no buildup and possible combustion. Turning it on, once it lights and holds its own, you can turn it off. The reason I'm saying to start with this first is if you go to fire up your furnace or your water heater and you haven't purged it yet, they only try to light themselves 3 times, and if they don't light, it's going to throw a fault code. So that could throw you off, right? So just best bet, start that up first. That way you know all those lines are purged, and it just makes it easier to fire everything else up. Storage all down below. You got your microwave, which is pretty much just like home. Not much I'm going to show you there. Then you do have your little ever-chill fridge. Temperature control is right down here. Obviously on 0, it's off. 1's the warmest setting. 7's going to be the coldest setting. Little tiny freezer up top. Whenever your furnace is running, it's going to be blowing out all its hot air from here. So if you want to get a little fan just to move air around a little bit, might be a good idea. On the wall is the thermostat for the furnace. Obviously turning it all the way to the right is turning it on. It's going to be its hottest setting. Turning it off, click, it's off. The furnace is going to run for an additional 3 minutes just to allow itself to cool down. So don't panic if it doesn't turn off right away. And then right behind you again, you got your main fuse and breaker panel. Popping that guy open. All your breakers, whenever they trip, it's going to sit in the middle, so you just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. All the corresponding fuses on your right. Last but not least, taking a step on into the bathroom, pretty standard. Light on its own center push button. You do have a little vent inside here. Open that guy up. You're gonna notice you do open up straight into the atmosphere, so if it were to start raining, or if you were driving with this vent lid open, you could cause damage to it. And if it was gonna start raining, if you get wet inside here, we do sell max air covers here at the shop. Pop that guy over top of here. You can leave it open while traveling, or if it starts raining, it's not gonna get wet inside. If you'd like to get set up with that, just contact your parts department once again, just for a quote. You got your shower, hot, cold water, toilet, flusher on the right. Now on the wall here, you got your GFI plug. Whenever you have a plug that doesn't work, first place I'd look, making sure it's not tripped, reset in the middle, test on the bottom. And then you got your water heater thermostat on off with the press of a button. You can go up and down between your desired temperatures with the press of these buttons. It's going to be locked to 50 if you ever go under 55, just for an added safety feature so kids can't scold their hands. Push the up button for about 5 seconds. You're going to hear it beep, and then you can go up to 55 just so kids can't scold their hands. Celsius and Fahrenheit, press of a button, off again. That is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.